So it looks like the Russo brothers and Disney Marvel might be considering some things which would help their movies. We obviously have seen their struggles over the last 6 years, but there's a report about potentially bringing back Black Panther and Iron Man. Now we're going to be reacting to what Cosmic Wonder had to say. I really like his content. I really enjoy his thoughts on this stuff. So we're going to be playing it, and I'll give you some of my reactions as we're playing the video. But maybe this is a good thing. Maybe Disney Marvel saying, well, these characters played a big part in the Avengers series, and we just forget about them. And people talk about recasting. Well, they have recasted plenty of characters before, like Mr. Fantastic, and they killed him off, and they could still bring back that Mr. Fantastic. I don't know why they killed him off in Multiverse. That really was just a dumb idea. Even like killing off Peggy as Captain America was dumb. I didn't understand that decision. Charles Xavier dying again. Like, it was just dumb to me. But let's see what Cosmic had to say here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder. Lots of Marvel news to go over today. You might have heard that Marvel Studios is not attending San Diego Comic-Con this year, which might have come as a pretty big shock a couple of weeks ago. But since Marvel Studios just changed up their release schedule, pushing back Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, it's not so surprising. We also have news about another new Avengers team. Now, this specific Avengers team is an Avengers team from a different universe, not our main 616.
And I like that because if you're bringing in a group that has no affiliation with the previous Avengers, no memory of them, no relationship, that could work out well. If you bring back Michael B. Jordan, who I would think would be a great Black Panther. And then for Iron Man, I thought today about Tom Cruise. I know he's older in age, but people love Tom Cruise. If you want to go for the younger side, maybe you consider like a Chris Pine, a Matt Bomer, maybe even Mark Wahlberg. Those are just some names I came up with, and love to hear your thoughts on that. But what I like is that you bring these old characters back, new faces. I think Michael B. Jordan should have been in the second Black Panther. I know there's talks about that. They could have done that, brought him in a different universe because the multiverse was here, but they can still make up for it. This is supposedly a reboot, so why not bring in a new Black Panther? Michael B. Jordan, the movie Sinners, I'm not going to see it, but it did really well at the box office. He's a well-known face. People like him. Why not go ahead and make that transition? I think it'd be great. And if you bring in an Iron Man, that maybe we can get people get on board with it. It's really about the casting, because they cast this right and make good choices. Then you have a new Iron Man, new Black Panther, and I was like, okay, let's go ahead and rock and roll. And then you bring in the X-Men and you go ahead and keep it moving. I just like the fact that it's being talked about, and I hope it plays out well for Marvel. I mean, they really need to win desperately because things have not been going well for them at all.
Universe. So we're not talking about Sam Wilson's Avengers team or Yelena's Avengers team, which is also the Thunderbolts, of course. This is a completely new one. And a new report that kind of goes hand in hand with this new Avengers team from a different universe is that we're going to see another Black Panther in Avengers Doomsday. And if the timeline is still the same in the MCU, which we assume it is not T'Challa's son, T'Challa II. It's a completely different Black Panther who is most likely going to be a variant. So like I said, a lot to dive into today. And if you're new and you love Marvel, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest news. So like I said, there are two different reports that do say a new Black Panther is going to show up in Avengers Doomsday, but the first one is coming from the scooper My Time to Shine Hello. According to her, a second Black Panther is reportedly set to appear in Avengers Doomsday. Now, we've been hearing for a while now from a lot of different insiders that Marvel Studios does intend on introducing a new Black Panther. Shuri is our Black Panther right now, but basically what we've heard is Marvel Studios does intend on essentially recasting T'Challa.
And people are complaining about that, saying, oh, well, why would they do that? Why would they decide to recast? Like I said, they did that with Mr. Fantastic, and they brought him in the multiverse. There's nothing wrong with recasting. It can work. Shuri, people didn't want that. People were like, why didn't you put Michael B. Jordan as the Black Panther? You could have done it. Maybe they still end up putting him as a Black Panther, but I like this idea. Let's start fresh. You should have done this to begin with after Endgame. I think they should have given this whole universe a 5-year break. Maybe do standalone projects and then take your time putting up a new universe. But hey, if they end up going this direction and getting the right casting, I'm all for it.
Originally, Kevin Feige decided not to do that to honor Chadwick Boseman's legacy. And while Chadwick Boseman was indeed amazing, we definitely miss him, and we can understand why Kevin Feige decided to do that. the importance of the character of T'Challa is being stressed by a very large amount of people who, even though they did love Chadwick Boseman, still want them to actually recast T'Challa to have a T'Challa and Black Panther in the MCU. So it looks like Marvel Studios has kind of decided that as well, possibly even changing their minds after they heard all of the fans. Now here's where it gets a little.
And I'm sure they heard from the fans because, man, they have not been happy what's going on. So I'm sure they heard them loud and clear that, hey, Marvel, stop wokeifying things up. Stop changing characters' race because you want to fit a certain political agenda or that you got to please a specific crowd. Keep the characters the same. Like I've said before, if Miles Morales is black, keep him black. If Shang-Chi is Asian, keep him Asian. If Storm is black, keep her black. Like the same energy there. Don't change the fundamentals of the character because you're just going to turn people off. Like the Pedro Pascal hiring was just for a DEI thing, and I don't think he's going to be that good as Mr. Fantastic. Because again, people are not used to seeing that. It's that simple. Why don't we have a T'Challa? We should have one because it was so great in the first. I understand you want to respect Chadwick Boseman's memories. I totally get that. But let's recast it. Let's get things moving because the Black Panther franchise has a lot going on, in my opinion. I love the first movie. The second one was, that's because, you don't have Chadwick Boseman anymore. But if you bring Michael B. Jordan into the universe as Black Panther, I think that's going to help Black Panther revitalize things and get things moving in the right direction.
Little confusing when it comes to a new Black Panther. Obviously, Shuri, who is the current Black Panther, is going to be in Doomsday, and we assume in Secret Wars as well. And we don't know when Black Panther 3 is going to be released. Denzel Washington and Ryan Coogler have both confirmed it is happening. We just don't know when. But either way, it does look like Marvel Studios is intending on using the multiverse to give us a new T'Challa. And honestly, it works. It's a good plan, especially with this other report and the reboot coming up. Because according to this other report, we are getting a new Avengers team from a different universe, and Black Panther is going to be a part of that team. This report is coming from the insider James Mackwell, who was the person who leaked the script for Multiverse of Madness.
It makes you wonder, because of everything going on with Marvel, with the cast and Pedro Pascal and the Fantastic Four, I think Disney Marvel are seeing the end of that idea with the Fantastic Four being the leaders. There's reports about Chris Pratt coming back as Star-Lord to lead the Avengers, but if they're going in this direction, it just tells you that maybe Disney Marvel is like, okay, we're going to listen to you guys and stop trying to wokeify things up because you don't like it. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know. We shall see. Obviously, there's fans out there who probably think like, yeah, I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. And that's fine because they've broken so much trust and they burnt so many bridges. But I do like this idea.
This before it was released, and when it was released, it was all confirmed to be true. Sticking with Black Panther, James mentioned a new Avengers team, and Black Panther was going to be one of those characters. And we assume Black Panther is T'Challa. So that's how we get a new Black Panther in the MCU. No, he's not going to be the one from our main universe, but with a soft reboot coming up, it looks like that's Marvel's solution to give us a new T'Challa. Because what happens in the comics and what we've seen in other events like Crisis on Infinite Earths is that when the big event is over, when the multiverse is destroyed and the new universe is created, the new universe consists of a lot of different characters from a lot of different universes, which is exactly how we're going to have a main universe consisting of the X-Men, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four moving forward. Finally. But in a lot of events, when the new universe is formed and now all of these new characters are together, nobody actually remembers the events that happened before. To them, they have been in that universe as long as they can remember. So basically, history is kind of rewritten for them in their own minds, and not just theirs, but to everybody's in that universe. So that would be a pretty, I wouldn't say easy because there's a lot that has to do with the multiverse, but that's a pretty good way to bring in a T'Challa as Black Panther in the MCU because it really is T'Challa. It's not like it's a knockoff or anything like that. It's actually T'Challa. He just comes from a different universe. But a lot of characters like the X-Men, and even as we've seen recently, the Fantastic Four, are going to come from other universes, but they'll be a part of the main story moving forward after Secret Wars. So that is seemingly how they're going to do this. And as far as what's going to happen to Shuri, who knows? Maybe she takes a step down.
I do not care. No offense. I don't care what happens to Shuri. She's a great side character. I like her as a scientist. She does her role, but I really don't care. Not to be mean. Like I keep saying, Marvel is a boy brand. So get some men out there. It's going to help you make money. What else can you say? And again, if you're bringing Fantastic Four from a different universe to the 616 universe, why not recast the other characters? Makes perfect sense to me.
Lets this new T'Challa, who possibly in her mind might actually be her brother due to the reboot, which I think might happen, but maybe she's one of the characters who doesn't make it past the reboot. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Now, the second part of that report of the new Avengers team is this. James Mackwell says, in Avengers Doomsday, we will see a team of Avengers formed in the X-Men universe, composed of variants that we know. I've heard about 4 characters who are part of this new Avengers lineup.
I think it's safe to say that Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, their versions of Charles Xavier, Magneto, are going to die in these Avengers films. So please bring back James McAvoy as Charles Xavier and bring back Michael Fassbender as Magneto. I think they still have a lot left. They're really good in their roles. I know every movie didn't do well, but they're good for the characters. That would be perfect for the next wave of Marvel movies, in my opinion.
Variant of Iron Man, a variant of Black Panther, Binary, Maria Rambeau, and Hank Pym, who will be known as Giant in this universe. Now, if this ends up being true in Avengers Doomsday, I actually think this is a really cool idea, showing us a universe where these characters did exist together. The X-Men and the Avengers were in the same universe, just not ours, unfortunately. But that is coming up. But imagine the old X-Men movies that we saw with Professor X and Cyclops and Magneto and Storm, etc. They actually went on to have an Avengers team. We just didn't see it, but it will be cool to see how they interact with each other. And speaking of the actual team, if this is true and Binary / Maria Rambeau is a part of this team, then perhaps what we saw in the post-credit scene for the Marvels, Binary and Hank McCoy, aka Beast, perhaps that is our actual first look of the Avengers of that universe interacting with the X-Men of that universe. And it looks like they're playing nicely with each other, which we've heard might not happen when they make it over to our universe. There's a lot of reports. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I do want to address another character, Iron Man. We've heard reports and rumors, of course, nothing confirmed yet, but from the insiders, they've stated that Robert Downey Jr. isn't coming back just to play Doctor Doom, but he will indeed be playing variants of Iron Man, which I think makes a lot of sense.
I don't mind that because Robert Downey Jr. obviously played Iron Man all those years. I think it'd be cool to have some cameos, but I do think you need to find a replacement for him as the variant so you can transition off of Robert Downey Jr. and he can take on Doctor Doom as the villain going forward. That's just my opinion. Do I think it's a good idea to have him with different variants? Yes. I think you should have other, variants. Maybe you have Tom Cruise do a cameo as Iron Man. That'd be cool. And have a 40-ish version of Iron Man, young, who could play Iron Man for the next 5 to 10 years, and you're in good shape. I like the idea here. I think this could turn out very well, especially if you cast right. That's the important part. You got to make sure you're casting correctly because if you don't, and you're just so focused on DEI stuff, gender swapping, it's going to turn off the fans, and Disney Marvel will be cooked by then.
And I think it would be pretty cool to see, actually. But you can let me know what you think about Robert Downey Jr. returning to play an Iron Man variant from the X-Men universe in the comments. Now, as far as Marvel's Hall H at SDCC is concerned, we are not getting one. In a Hollywood Reporter newsletter, Heat Vision, they talked about how they were in attendance of that Fantastic Four First Steps test screening, and they do confirm there was a post-credit scene shown. They state, when the lights went down and the picture came up, audiences were surprised to learn that the Fantastic Four First Steps would be the evening's entertainment. Marvel topper Kevin Feige and director Matt Shakman were in attendance for the movie, which did include a post-credit tag. So for those who have been wondering, I've seen a few comments, if it was actually shown or if it's just some people saying it was shown, confirmed. Unfortunately, in this newsletter, we also hear this. Test screenings aside, Fantastic Four opens the Friday of San Diego Comic-Con, and this year, Marvel will break with tradition and not have its infamous senses-shattering Saturday evening Hall H panel. They state, with Avengers Doomsday pushing out to December 2026, Marvel now has another SDCC before the film's theatrical release. The cast of Avengers Doomsday is currently in production, and it didn't...
Probably just to take their time. And again, I hope this choice is giving them some time to reflect, evaluate what's been wrong with Marvel over the last 6 years since Endgame had ended. And it gives them plenty of time to get things right and get the fans back on board. Because I think, Avengers Doomsday, Robert Downey Jr. is going to draw a big, crowd. I really believe that. Him coming back will get fans to come see the movie. But if you mess it up again, if your casting's off and you're trying to please a specific crowd, fans are not going to like that. So, not talking about what's going on, I think is a good move, but it's got to be executed properly.
Feel like the right timing for a Hall H panel. At least that was the thinking inside the company. Now, if you are attending San Diego Comic-Con, they do state that Marvel is still going to have a really big presence. We aren't getting our Hall H panel for them, but you'll see them a lot on the floor. They say they'll have a really big booth there with a Fantastic Four kind of immersive experience. So if you're going, be sure to check that out. But besides what they stated in this newsletter, which is what we all assumed due to the delays, they're not attending San Diego Comic-Con. On top of that, I think they're actually still trying to figure out their release schedule. We just heard Bob Iger isn't pleased with the 2026 release slate.
It's funny, Bob Iger was like, yeah, let's focus on quality over quantity. Now he wants more films pushed out. Marvel and Disney are just in such disarray right now. And again, like, if the content was better, I don't think this would be a problem. They put out a ton of films during the Infinity era and phase 1, 2, 3. And they put out a lot of films, a lot of content. People were okay with it. Did every film perform well? No. But the stories were great. And it was leading towards a specific endpoint. And you weren't pushing identity politics on people. So to say like, oh, we got to take our time. Like, no, that's not why things are bad right now. And now Bob Iger suddenly wants more films. Or it's just funny to see like the back and forth that Disney and Marvel go through. And hopefully it just does well, man. Because I don't know how Fantastic Four is going to do. People don't really like Pedro Pascal as the some fans don't like it because well, he's white, he's not Spanish, but that's just what Marvel wants to do right now in Disney. They just want to go for a certain crowd, and it's been a disaster. So if Fantastic Four doesn't do well, if this their backup plan, it tells me that maybe they are listening to fans and they want to do right. But we'll see.
Another Marvel movie in there somewhere, which hasn't really been mentioned of if that's going to happen or not. But he's upset that they only have essentially one movie that they fully own the profits to, Avengers Doomsday, while Spider-Man Brand New Day, they don't make as much because they don't own the rights to Spider-Man. Sony does. So Sony gets a pretty big cut. I also think they're still deciding where they want to put Doctor Strange 3, Shang-Chi 2, Thor 5, maybe a Scarlet Witch project. I think they're deciding what they want right now. And we've heard that they are still working on the script for Avengers Doomsday, which directly affects Avengers Secret Wars, and it also would affect anything that's happening in between. So due to the fact that it seems like the overall multiverse saga story is still being written, that's why they're not going to have a presence this year. They're still trying to figure it out. And I, for one, am personally okay with this. I'd love for them to have a panel and reveal some stuff, but not if it's going to lock them into something they don't want to do. I'd rather them take their time to give us the best possible story ever. The best it can be, at least. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel. Go.
I agree. Take your time because the last 6 years has been a lot of misses. So if you're going to wait all this time to not give us anything, do some marketing, maybe get the fans to miss the Avengers and Marvel itself, maybe the break will help them, but we shall see. But I love the thoughts. I love the idea of having a recast of Iron Man and Black Panther. Love to hear your thoughts about this idea. Do you agree or disagree? What are your feelings on Marvel right now? Do you think they're going to execute on Doomsday and turn things around? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys also share the video and check out Cosmic Wonder. Great guy. Always breaks down a lot of good stuff with Marvel and the content they're pushing. And I'll see you in the next one.